Good morning. You're on Coast to Coast AM.
Hi.
Hi there. What's your first name?
Kimberly.
Kimberly.
Hi.
Kimberly, I think you have a story about... I love stories about holes. You know, we had a big, long Mel's Hole saga here on the program.
I know. And when I was listening last night, and you were asking for stories, and I thought, gee, I wonder if Art would like to hear about my hole. And I thought, well, don't be ridiculous.
Oh, no, I like stories about holes. Believe me, I do. So, where, pray tell, is the hole in your life?
Well, I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, up in the northern latitudes. And my ancestry on my father's side goes back to the 1700s. He came from England, a single man. He went to the colonies back then so you could own land and, you know, have a future. So he came out, he made his way out to the prairies. And back in the 1700s, it was called Lower Fort Garry. And that's what became later on Winnipeg.
Huh.
He served at the fort, and he went on many expeditions up into the North Country. Around here at that time, the natives were friendly. Like it wasn't a lot like a warlike people. They were nomadic, and my grandfather, I don't know how many great times he was. My grandfather met them, and of course you'd hear lots of legends and stories. And he traveling up further north, he had heard of an opening in the ground where the natives said it was where the earth spirits dwelt, and that they would come out at times and they would hear things. And so my grandfather got one of the men to show him this, and not going into any other detail, for whatever reason, he decided to stake out some property that encompassed that area.
So how did you get to this whole...
Well, it came down through inheritance. We stayed in Manitoba, like myself. My brother ended up going out east. My father was born in Manitoba, so we stayed here. So through inheritance, there was just only about 8 acres left of the land.
So when did you first go to this place?
As a youngster, we had heard a lot of stories. We would go camping, and we were shown where, like, the original homestead was. It was by then, and now it's, you need to see some foundation.
Could you return to this place if you had to?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Go ahead and describe, if you would, the hole we're talking about here.
Okay. I haven't seen it for a few years, but what I remembered as a child, when my brother and I we were allowed by the time we were old enough. I mean, when you were young, you were not allowed to go near the thing. Till we were about maybe 13 or 14. And now I saw it a couple of years ago, but it's about probably closer to 30 feet. It's very round.
30-foot round hole.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know if you can see it from there. I don't know. I mean, that's a fair-sized hole. The walls are, I had said to you on the phone earlier, like a marble. And my daughter was listening, and she said, Mom, you don't know that's marble. And I said, well, yeah, I know, but the only way I could describe it
was like marble.
Yeah, it was like a creamy color. And for as old, I don't know how old.
That implies very smooth. You're saying it was very smooth?
Smooth.
This marble-like smoothness all the way around a 30-foot hole. Is there
any... and I remember as a youngster, like, then the grass and the bush had grown right to the edge. And you'd look down and you'd see the cream color as far
as you could
kind of like. And so I remember as a kid thinking, well, you know how you bang on things with rocks and... You know, you try and gouge out stuff. And
yes.
You can't do that with this. In fact, like, the rock would, like, break. And I remember my brother and I would be digging around it, say, well, let's see how thick. If this is a wall, or is it, like, some part of the rock?
That's what a kid would do, yeah.
Yeah, but in Manitoba, you do get, rocks aren't, like, cream colors.
How far back did you get?
It was about 2 feet thick. So then we figure out where the edge came to after pulling the dirt and the sawing away, and then we started going down on, like, you know what I mean, on the other side, the outside part of the hole.
Yes.
The rim.
Yes.
And, well, as kids, you got tired pretty fast of digging deep. It was like that on both sides, almost like, I guess you'd call like a sewer pipe going down. But it was made out of this.
And you threw things into it like all kids would, right?
Oh, yeah. Like each summer you would go and you'd think, well, what can we take this time? You know, a flashlight, a rope, and one time my brother was thinking, well, tie me to the rope and lower me down.
Huh.
And he's the older one, eh? And I go, are you nuts? Like, no way. Because you hear scary stories as a youth that, well, I know.
Of the poor little girl who was lowered into the hole.
He's like, he had, I don't know, 100 feet of rope, and he's going to tie it to the tree. And I said, no, you know.
Did you actually throw flashlights in there?
Yes.
Lit flashlights? And did you hear him bang on the bottom, or?
No. And we would get big things like trunks and trees and just anything we could carry. And
throw them in.
There was a lot of funny things about, plus the stories, but as I was telling you earlier, that about within maybe 50 yards of the hole, a circumference, it was all bush, but it was quiet. You couldn't hear any birds. You couldn't hear any squirrels.
No nature.
No nature, right. Not even bugs. It was like you crossed this invisible line.
Oh.
And really creepy.
Really cool. Now, if you had to go back to this hole today, you could do it.
Oh, yeah. It's a walk-in, okay? You know what you call a walk-in? Like, there's no road. Like, you can get to the edge of the property.
It's a how far walk-in?
You're probably looking an hour walk-in.
Is it an hour walk-in? That's a pretty good walk. Okay, is this something still owned by your family?
Oh, yes. And I know a couple of times when I was a youngster finding mutilated animals, like...
Near the hole?
Outside the circumference of the quiet like zone, like rabbits.
Oh, out of the zone where there was no nature, so just far enough.
Just at the edge there, you'd find maybe a rabbit, but the funny thing was, like, it would have its organs placed out. And one night we were I guess we were brave, I don't know. We were so used to it that we slept near it. And because even the natives said they could hear the earth spirits sing. But you could hear, I don't know if it was a humming or just a very, almost you couldn't hear, but you could feel it.
A machine-like noise?
Yeah, like maybe mechanical, I don't know. But you could feel it in your body even, like vibrating. My ancestors had always said they'd see lights up in the sky sometimes, like not ships, I don't know, but they were dots of light. I never saw those myself, but I have heard the noise. I've seen the dead animals.
Well, I've been always fascinated by holes, and you have an absolutely fascinating one, and you say you can get to it. If I were to come to you privately, I have your information here, and wish to take a trip to this hole, would that be possible?
Well, I would have to talk to the family, you know, because it is so private. Some things that you might be interested in over the years, very rarely has been passed through down the family, are sometimes you would find things left at the edge. Like,
you would find what?
Well, I don't know if you call them artifacts, or one time, we still have it in the family. It was like a pyramid, and it was like ebony, like solid ebony, smooth, and it was left near the rim, and it wasn't left standing up like a pyramid. It was left on its side. And just strange things, like the pieces of this, little metallic things, and I don't know if people were trying to communicate with us, or if it was, I don't know.
Tell you what, you talk to your family, I'll get back in touch with you. All right? You take care. And I don't know what it is. I guess ever since Mel's Hole, they've held a certain fascination for me, and I guess a lot of other people, too, because there's been so much communication about it. But these holes seem to have, well, you heard her, no nature and no living things in a certain radius, mutilated animals outside it, a sort of smooth, marble-like, unnature-like appearance.